What's good, Team Grips? Evan here for Grips.com, and in today's video, I am going to teach you how to never go on tilt again. I repeat, in today's video, I am going to teach you how to never go on tilt again. And I'm going to teach you how to do it for free. You know, it's me. What else would you expect? So now before you jump into the comments and say that this isn't possible, listen to what I said. I didn't say that after watching this video, you will never tilt again. I said that I'm going to teach you what you need to know to never go on tilt again, okay? I'm going to give you the tools, and it's up to you how long it will take you to apply and master the teachings that I present in this video. Before I get into the methods, I'd like to ask a favor of you, and it's a favor that will greatly speed up your progress by at least 100%. All right, so I would like you to pause the video and post in the comments why you think you go on tilt. And I would also like you, before you go ahead and do that, to post why you feel like you go on tilt. And if you take your time to think and feel out these answers, you'll notice that they're slightly different. So please pause the video and post those insights in the comments to get the ball rolling on your path to becoming tilt-proof. Okay, thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that, and trust me when I say you're going to thank me a million times over for asking you to do that. Okay, so I have a few announcements before we get into the content, and they're mostly good announcements. The first announcement is that I'm working on a secret project that will raise the level of your live game by at least 6 or 7 levels. It's going to be that awesome, that comprehensive. It's going to be completely a transformative program like what you've come to expect from Grips Poker Training. And it should be ready in time for the World Series of Poker. That's all I can say about it for now. But if you got excited hearing that, you're going to be even more excited when you actually get a preview of what's inside. Okay. The only piece of bad news is that I'm not sure how active I can be on YouTube while I'm working on this project, but I hope you understand. And I know a lot of people are really enjoying these life coaching, personal insight kind of videos, so I'm going to make my best effort to continue making them, but I may only be able to release one per month until the secret project is complete. I also know that people have been missing the live play videos. They want that action. And those would most likely be the people who haven't been watching me every Friday on Twitch. But some great news on that front is I've recruited a team of wicked players and wicked personalities to increase the amount of live play and free training available through Team Grips on Twitch. I've posted a link to the team stream below this video, which will also have an updated schedule every week of what's happening so you can see what streams are best suited to your needs and your schedule. I will also personally be adding another day to my streaming schedule, so if you can't make it out to Free Money Friday, you can now join me for Get Stackin' Saturday, which will be every Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Time. If you can make it out to both, even better. I just want to give the people what they want and ensure that the people with the busiest schedules can still sprinkle in some Grips goodness into their weeks. All right, so we got that out of the way. Let's get into the meat of this video, the goods of this presentation. Let me present you with the real reason that I think most people go on tilt. Some examples from my personal experience, and some tools that you can start using to ensure that the pain and suffering of tilting never enters into your reality again. We don't want to have that. We don't need to deal with that, okay? And the mantra, the saying, the affirmation that you're going to want to use and to implement to make that happen is, don't sweat it, just forget it, okay? So when something happens that kind of bugs you, be like, you know what? Don't sweat it, man. Just forget it. And that's really going to help you a lot. So, the real reason that I think people go on tilt is because deep down they are dealing with and holding on to a bunch of things that make them unhappy or make them feel bad. In short, their normal, their regular feeling is not the nicest place to be. And the more negative that place is, the more prone they're going to be to tilt, and to tilt to really epic proportions. And, everyone wants to get away from that place. They want to get away from said normal. This is what draws a lot of people to gambling in the first place. They see it as an escape. And although poker is quite different than traditional gambling, it still involves an element of chance, an element of hope, and that's why people are drawn to it for the same reasons as they are drawn to other gambling. They're drawn to it for an escape, for a feeling of excitement, or for a shot at the dream, which is especially true for people who are drawn to tournament poker as opposed to cash game poker. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean that tournaments can't be played profitably. Quite the contrary. And it doesn't mean that if you like to play poker tournaments, then there's something wrong with you. No. But the fact that this kind of a lottery element exists, that it's part of the game, and it draws people who may not have the skills to compete, but they have the hope that this could be the time that things work out for them, is actually the main reason why poker tournaments are so profitable. You see, a lot of people gamble. They take chances. And when things are going well, they're building stacks or winning pots, they get removed from their problems for just a little bit. And they think, that this is going to be the day that everything changes, because today is going to be the day that I get my big score. But as soon as the tides turn and that score gets a little bit farther away from them, and they're down chips or stuck, as we say, they realize that not only are all the things that bother them still there, they still have to deal with them, but now they're also in a worse off position than they were before to deal with those things, because they've lost some of the precious resources, money, and time. And they have to go tell someone why they did that, and they're going to get a hard time about that. So then comes the spiral of frantically trying to get back to even, so that, even if they still have to sit with their problem, well, at least they're coming at it from the same position they were before they started gambling. And when they have to answer that person who asks what happens, they can say, I just had some fun, everything is as it was. But usually, these frantic attempts aren't very well calculated, and they just push the person further and further into a pit of despair. And it's not a happy place to be. Nobody wants to end up here, and most people don't enjoy being around someone who's found themselves in this place. So, if you get here, it can be very hard to find sympathy, and it can be hard to find help. So thank God you've got Evan from Grips.com, who is here to help you with that, and to help you master this, so that you can know how to deal with it and get back to a nice normal where people are excited to see you again. They don't have to deal with Tilty Tom or whatever your name is, or whatever your friend's name is who has an issue with tilt. So, in my last trip to Niagara, when I went to play the tournaments, I saw some pretty sick things. And it wasn't the first time I've seen people go really nuts trying to get back to even. I've seen some pretty epic degen runs on the table games. In fact, I even saw someone go on tilt after they cashed for $7,000 in a tournament, because he decided that unless he got first place, he wasn't going to be content. No, because he was a winner, and winners win. And unless he got that first place prize of $200,000 or whatever it was, he wouldn't be happy. So he tried to take his $7,000 that he cashed for and tried to run it up to $200,000. Safe to say, it didn't work out for him. And I think he actually ended up stuck more than being even. I think he went beyond the $7,000. And why did this happen? Think about it. Why did this happen? On the surface, it may look like it was because he had an unrealistic goal or an unrealistic expectation. First place or bust. And listen to that, bust. First place or nothing. Not that there's anything wrong to aim for first. You should always want to win. But you shouldn't expect that that's going to be the final outcome. And if the result that you need to be happy is first place, to be happy or feel content, you're going to end up miserable most of the time. So it's good to want first, but you can't need first. You got to be good no matter what happens. And then, acting in pretty silly ways and all that. But I think the real reason this happened was because he wanted to feel like a champion. He wanted his friends and family to see him as a winner. And when he didn't win, even though he won some money, when he didn't win the tournament, get the trophy and the pictures and the girls and all that stuff, he saw himself as a loser. And he did whatever he could to get away from this feeling of being a loser, because no one wants to be a loser. And the reality is, guys, your results don't determine who you are. The level of effort you put in and the thought you put into your actions, both on and off the table, the quality of your decisions are what determines who you are as a person, whether or not you are a champion or an up-and-comer or just a loser who's destined to stay like that. The results you get are just something that you do as a consequence of that, okay? And in tournament poker, tournaments have a high amount of luck associated with them. So, luck's going to play a part in what results you get. The difference between winning $1 million and winning, say, $50,000 or cashing the tournament for the minimum or coming up short. It could be the difference between a coin coming up heads 3 times in a row versus tails coming up but once in that sequence. So it's really important to not be stuck on your results. So you need to be realistic in your expectations so that you don't go on a needless, silly spiral. But more importantly, if you want to never go on tilt again, you have to work on improving your normal. And that is why I teach all this other stuff in addition to poker strategy, all the other stuff, the health, the nutrition, the mindset, the physical, all that. See, the fact is your strategy may be completely fine. Your knowledge of the game may be completely sound for what you need to know to win a poker tournament. But the reason you don't succeed is because you have issues in other areas that you haven't addressed and maybe aren't willing to address, or maybe don't even know that, these are things you need to address. That's why I'm here to kind of point you in the right direction and let you know about what areas I neglected to address and was like, oh shit, that's something I need to work on to play better. Oh, okay. Fix that. Game gets better. Easy game. You see, if deep down, you don't think of yourself as a champion, your brain is going to recognize that, we're not a champion to ensure that you don't become a champion. It's going to take actions to ensure that doesn't happen. Or that, even if you get lucky and do win, you will not act like a champion after that, and that's why a lot of people, throw their winnings back to the community or blow them on like really pointless things that make them feel like the man for a little bit, but they fade very quickly. So you really need to see yourself and think of yourself the way that you would like to be, and you have to remind yourself of that as often as possible with the use of affirmations. Hence, 2015, it's my year. Okay? And just before we get into the techniques you can use to become tilt-proof, I want to examine that word a little bit, the lingo we use in poker and gambling. Okay? We say that when we get stuck, we play bad. What does stuck even mean? Okay? It means attached, right? Holding on to something. And when we're stuck on or attached to, what we're stuck on or attached to is the losses that have happened or the events that led to those losses, and how can we be so stupid to have taken those actions? And we're stuck on that because we simply just can't let go and move on and be with what the new reality is, because things change. We got to adjust. We got to deal with it. We want to be where we were. We're stuck at being at our high point. And you know what? In life, there are going to be very few times when you are actually at your literal peak. Like up here at the top, the peak. You're there very rarely, but being here is pretty cool too. Being here is pretty cool. Even being here, it's okay. It's a good place to be. You can learn from there. So like I said, you can stay close to it, especially when you learn to accept what is and work with that so that you can bounce back. But you're rarely going to be at the literal top. So you can't set yourself up to only be happy when you're up there. Okay? It's a recipe for disaster. Now, the other word I really like to look at is the phrase chasing losses. Because if you actually look at the sentence and listen to it and write it down, it literally means you're running towards or after losses. And if you're running towards something, eventually you're going to get it. You're going to get more of it. So in the statement itself, it actually says that you're seeking losses. You want losses, Not a good strategy and not a good state of mind. So if you want to be a winner in the game of poker and a champion at life, you don't want to be someone who gets stuck, and you don't want to be someone who chases losses. You just let the losses go. You just let them go, and you chase wins, chase dreams. So I think the reason why most people get stuck in poker is because they're only thinking about the money, and they always want to have as much money as possible. And when they're doing that, they're actually missing the point of the game, which is to make high quality decisions and then hope for the best, but expect nothing but a fair outcome. And a fair outcome doesn't mean that you're going to win every time you have the best hand. 66% of the time is 2 out of 3. You're still going to lose one. 80% is 4 out of 5. You're still going to lose 1 out of 5. There are very few 100% situations in poker. Yet, people who don't get this, they act like even when a 55% edge comes up, it should be 100% spot for them. And when they lose, that it must be because the world is out to get them. And it's no, dude, you're only going to win there, 11 times out of 20. That's still a lot of losses out of 20. So listen. When you only focus on the money, you're letting the game and really, the gambling demons per se, or the gambling part of your brain, which doesn't really understand rationality and odds, control you. You are being controlled by something that doesn't really get reality. But when you focus on the real goal of poker, what you're supposed to do and what really is going on, that high quality decision making, now you are the one controlling the game rather than letting the game control you. Okay? The reason that tilters often run to table games after, they have a loss is because that part of the brain that doesn't understand rationality, smart decision making, it's now taken over. And all it wants to do is get back to a comfortable place because it's shit, I experienced loss. This isn't good. I need to get that back so I can feel normal and okay and secure again. Okay? And typically, it's X amount of dollars they got to make. So when you feel this coming on, because we all experience it, I experience it a little bit, it's how well you deal with it. Do yourself a favor. Take a few deep breaths. Maybe have a conversation with yourself. And don't make any impulsive decisions. Just take some breaths, talk it out, and think and feel what you really want to do. If you're able to do that, instead of rushing and making a rash decision, you might just save $1,000, or in the case of high rollers, you might just save yourself $10,000 or even $100,000. So the problem is that this stuff is happening in our minds, and it's hard to regain control over it once that part of the mind's kind of turned on. The more things you're holding on to or dealing with, the more pronounced the effect is whenever the triggering event happens, which is the tilting event. Because your kind of vulnerable, non-rational part of your brain isn't just experience the feeling of the loss or discomfort that just happened now. It is actually reliving and dealing with every feeling of loss or discomfort that you've ever experienced and not yet dealt with. You're actually dealing with all of it at once, while being put under the pressure of still having to make more decisions because you're playing the game. Good luck. Good luck dealing with that. This way you gotta do some work away from the table if you want to perform your best on the table. So, how to regain control? How do we ensure that we call the shots and not our runaway, wounded, hurt self? The trick, it's actually pretty simple, and it is to write down the thing or idea or event that is bothering you, and then once you've written it down, you get it on your paper, and you just look at it, right? Think about it, maybe write some more stuff about it, more things about it, and by putting it on paper so you can actually see it and work with it, you give yourself the chance to potentially change it. You empower yourself in regards to whatever the thing is that was here that is now, and you're like, okay, I can work with this. Whereas if you keep it in your brain, and this is just this crazy idea, I can't get it, I can't get control over it, you're going to be in a position of being disempowered, and usually you're going to have a hard time with it. But once you write it down, you'll often realize that it's not that big of a deal, or not some impossible task to overcome, because it's just one thing. You just need to work with it. But when it's on your brain, you can't put your finger on it, and you're not just dealing with that one thing, it's running off to the next thought and the next thought, and you're like, well, I can't deal with all those things, So when you write it down, it's not the 50 or 500 things that are built up. It's just one thing. And then it'll help you get to the next thing. And the more often you do this, the lower that total number of things is going to be, because you're chopping it down. And thus, each time you trigger that, that tough zone or that tough time, that moment of tilt, that moment of weakness, it won't be as overwhelming or intimidating or overpowering, and you'll be able to say, you know what? I can handle this. I can get through this. It ain't nothing that I haven't overcome before. And losing a hand here to River Bad Beat, it's no big deal. You can get back in the game. It's not going to ruin me. And every time you do this exercise, you improve or, you level up your normal. And your mind will recognize this and not try to bring you back down to the low point where you once were, because that's not your normal anymore. See, the human being craves to be in what's normal, in what it's comfortable with, what it's used to. And when you change that drastically, like when you win the lottery or something, it gets uncomfortable because I don't know how to deal with this. So it's going to seek to bring you back to your normal place, whatever your normal is. No matter how awesome or terrible the new place you went to was, it's going to want to seek to get back to normal. And that's why this is a process and a practice that is done over time. The human being can handle gradual changes. In fact, it almost doesn't even really notice them. But it doesn't do well with extremes. So, your normal, or the new normal you would like to have, is something you move towards over time. It's something you walk to, and you take breaks along the way. You stop to smell the flowers. It's not something you want to just hop on a private jet and take an airplane to. Think about it. How well does your body adjust when you go from sub-zero temperatures to 30-degree sunshine and then back to the sub-zero temperatures within a week? Sunburn, frozen, travel sickness, all these things. So, if you want to improve your normal so that your mind won't see you as someone who wants to be sad or angry or upset or bitter, someone who would naturally be inclined to go on tilt, then you got to start cleansing yourself and giving yourself power over the things that have turned your normal into an unhappy place. You don't have to stay there, but you have to work through it and learn the lessons that are there for you. Okay? Those are the lessons that will allow you to stay at a higher level of normal. Because at that point, you'll understand what it takes to live at that level, and you'll have the tools to stay there instead of not knowing how to handle a situation that's going to bring you back down. That's why there are, no quick fixes, no magic pills in the game of poker or in this game of life. But as you cleanse yourself and own your issues, you will start acting from a place of strength rather than a place of fear. And thus you will be making much better decisions and not fall prey to the things that could give you temporary satisfaction and freedom from short-term pain, because you will already have comfort and satisfaction and you won't be needing to get away from pain. You'll be feeling good like 24 hours a day. This is how you can reach a point where you will never go on tilt again. Or, because whatever money you lose when you play poker, whatever chips you lose when you play poker, or straight up gamble for that matter, is not going to be money that's essential to your survival. It's not going to bug you that much because it's just a game at that point. It's not your livelihood where one bad beat just ruins everything for you. When you know you can still pay the bills and put food on the table, whether or not you win this poker hand or this poker tournament, and to my younger viewers, like, why are you getting so worried, dude? You don't even have all these responsibilities to deal with. And when you know that you are a champion because of the decisions you make on the regular, and when you don't need an outcome, which is somewhat dependent on luck, to validate you as a champion, you're going to be able to play much better. From a much purer place of happiness, creativity, and curiosity. So you'll be doing all these new cool things that might be working, and most importantly, you will never go on tilt again. Okay? When you reach this place, you will be able to see every poker outcome for what it is, which is a lesson that you are fortunate to have the chance to learn from. Until you get here, you will be focused on how the game is unfair whenever you lose, and the way it should be whenever you win. Because, poker is your thing. This is not reality. You're not supposed to win 100% of the times you play a game of chance. You have to know how to handle losses, and the key is to win more than you lose. And this is achieved by the people who have learned the lessons to accomplish this through good decision making. It's that simple, okay? You're going to have some bumps in the road. Not every session will be a walk in the park. But if your intention is in the right place and you face your problems and challenges and try to learn from them rather than run away from them and pretend they're not there or that they never happened, you will become a champion and you will never go on tilt again. Because tilting isn't something that champions do. There's no value in it. Like, seriously. What's the point of going on tilt? Okay, feel free to post in the comments and shed some light on that, because even though it's not rational, it's still something people do, and a lot of people do, and there's got to be a reason to it. So, if you see something that I don't see, go ahead and tell me, man, because I'll be happy to learn from it. So, today's call to action is to, take your journal or just a random scrap piece of paper and write down all that's been bugging you. And all the things that you've been holding on to for some reason or another. There's always a reason, and you don't need to figure out what the reason is, okay? Just list the things that you're holding on to or that have been bugging you, that person who cut you off, the cashier that didn't give you the right change the first time, that person who never stops calling you, whatever it is. Just write them down. Those things that are not doing you any good or giving you any benefit, and just look at them. And if you don't have a journal yet, like I said, you can just write it down on a notepad document. You can open up a file on your computer, WordPad, whatever the one is on Mac. But recognize it is at least 200% more effective if you do this practice by hand. I know because I've done it both ways, and this is why I highly recommend getting a journal. Because that way not only can you write it down, but you can reference it any time. And your mind can stop holding on to it and let it go, because it knows it's in a safe place if you ever need to deal with it. It knows that thought's not going to get lost, so it doesn't have to hold on to it. Okay? So look that list over, come back to it every couple of days, and start thinking about, what things you could change. What action steps would be required to change those things. And just think about which things you're ready to let go and move on from, and just why am I still wasting time and energy and thought on this? It's completely useless, and that was 10 years ago. Why do I care anymore? Okay? You don't need to start making these changes now. Just getting awareness is enough to give you a good amount of control and self-confidence, which is what people who tilt regularly really need, because it's one of the things that they lack. So by rebuilding that, you will naturally be building up your immunity and your resistance to going on tilt. Okay? Doing this will make it so the next time you have a tilt triggering response, it will be much less significant and damaging than it would normally be. And if you don't believe me, try it out for yourself. Get a piece of paper, write down one thing that bugs you, just one. Go play some poker. See how hard you tilt when the tough time hits, and then, come back and do it again. Write down 5 things that bother you. Go play some poker, and then see how hard you tilt when the tough time hits. And, do it one more time. Write down everything that bothers you. Go play some poker, and see how little you tilt when the tough time hits. It'll be really interesting to get a reference point. This is how hard I tilted before I did the exercise. This is when I did it a tiny bit. This is when I kind of got into it, and this one I did it full on, the difference. So you can actually see the difference yourself. And I'm not making this up because I did it myself before. That's why I say the more you get into it, the more grounded you're going to be, and the less you're going to tilt. You're just going to feel fine, and you're not going to care about these little beats that happen in a card game. Okay. And remember, it's just about awareness right now. Nobody said you needed to change everything at once. Remember, we're taking baby steps because that is the key to changing your normal in a way that will stick. It's like a diet. You don't want to go on a special diet where, it's great while you're on, and then when you come off, you just crash and come right back down. Same with your tilting. We want to do it in a slow way where we're going to retain things. I did 3 sessions and I'm perfect now, and oh shit, I forgot one thing and I come right back down. No, we want these changes to stick. Okay? So, now, I hope you can do me a favor again. Pause the video and respond to the comment you made at the start of the video. I'm not asking you to write down all the things that bother you like you did on the piece of paper. That's more your private, your personal thing. But I now want you to respond to that comment with why you think you go on tilt. And see if it's different than it was half an hour ago when you wrote down why you thought you go on tilt. And for bonus, you can come back in a few days or a few weeks after you've played some sessions and respond again. Because if you can identify why you think and feel you go on tilt, combine that with all the things that bother you, deep down and that you have to deal with every time you go on tilt, you're going to gain a ton of power and a ton of control over your mind, your emotions, and your actions at the table. So you can combine your journal or your written list with your comment section on YouTube and just cross-reference them. There's your accountability. You're doing it for yourself and you're doing it for Team Grips because other people are going to benefit from being able to see why other people go on tilt and realizing that they're not alone in the issues that they have. And they realize if one guy can get through it because he followed the steps of the exercise, that this person can get through it too. So you're doing the community a huge favor in addition to doing yourself a huge favor if you take on this exercise. So thank you. And at the end of the day, you like to be in control of your actions when there's money on the line, right? So that's why you might want to take me up on this offer. In fact, you can do this exercise as many times as you want, and every time you do it, you will gain more clarity and more benefit from it, as will everyone else in the community. Now, I realize you may not want to, open yourself up per se. It can be uncomfortable. It's definitely not easy. But few of the truly life-changing and life-enhancing things are easy. The hard stuff is what gives you the greatest rewards. But opening yourself up, it's probably not your normal, and it wasn't always mine either. But I can tell you I've come a long way, and greatly in thanks to being willing to open myself up the right amount along the way, Do what's just a tiny bit uncomfortable, not what's super, super uncomfortable. Just find the edge of your comfort zone, work a little bit there, and then come back. And work a little bit there, and then come back. And eventually your comfort zone will grow like this, and then you'll be able to do all kinds of crazy things. Okay? Just realize I understand all this because I did it myself too. And I understand that YouTube is full of trolls. We don't want to post them and we're just going to get trolled. I understand that it feels weird to just put it out there to strangers. But realize this. You can hide behind your screen name. Nobody here other than me knows who you really are. And even still, I just know you by your screen name and what you've shared before. I don't know what your name is in real life or where you live or your friends' names or your family or anything about you. So it's not gonna come back to you. Back in the real world, outside YouTube, whatever you posted isn't going to be, used against you by other people as ammo. Be aware of who's in your Google Plus circle. I think the comments get shared between YouTube and Google. But you know, if you're saying like this is something I struggle with, you really think someone's going to use that against you to put you down? If anything, someone should try to like use it to help you, to bring you up and help you solve it. And if someone's using it to bring you down, you probably don't need that person in your life. Yeah. And yeah, that's the other huge perk of having a private journal. It's your secret safe place, and if you do it there, like no one's gonna open up the document that you hit on some folder in your desktop accidentally and see all your secrets. That's why a private journal is really nice to have. It's yours. And also, if you guys are gonna share some comments on YouTube, because I've dealt with a lot of trolls and I know how much it hurts and how annoying it is, use this statement to protect yourself, and especially to protect your ego before you read any responses that people may post in reply to your comments. And it is this. This comment or response is most likely a projection of what the poster or responder is feeling and has little or nothing to do with me and who I am. My comment simply triggered something in them that brought up a response or slew of feelings that they are now putting out there and getting out of their head. In fact, your comment may have even triggered their tough time, what puts them on tilt, the same way that losing a big pot or a 2-outer might. You never know, and there's always so much going on in other people's heads, and everyone's different. But by using this statement first and kind of preparing yourself before you're like, okay, like I'm going to read some comments, so you don't get blindsided. And in fact, saying it out loud will double the benefit and level of protection. You'll be able to not take the comment personally. I know it because when I check my comments, first thing in the morning, versus when I check my comments after I've had a tough session, versus when I do the exercise and then check the comments with a clear head, or when I just finished having a great workout or a good meal. I can see the difference in how I feel in reading them and how I respond to them. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, like that mother, like I got to respond to him, and it's like, if I had just read it with a clear head and just be like, oh, this guy's just upset, that's unfortunate for him, I can respond in a more constructive way, or I can just be like, I don't need to respond to this. This isn't even about me. So yeah, also really evaluate if there's something good in the response or comment for you, or if it's just the other person, maybe venting or giving advice to themselves. That way you can judge if it's, for you or not. This is also a super helpful technique to realize and use when dealing with people who may be upset or on tilt in real life to better handle the situation. So don't take it personally. Just listen, do what you can do to help, if anything. Without, putting yourself in a compromising position. Obviously, there's a limit. You don't want to give all your energy to helping others and have nothing left for you. And after that's been done, don't sweat it. Just forget it. And remember that this video, it really is just the beginning. And if you do what's in this video, you're gonna evolve so far and so fast. Okay, my goal with this video was to help you gain awareness of what's really going on. Not to seek resolution immediately, just to get aware of what's happening and what's really going on. So don't feel the need to respond to everyone else's comments with what you think the solution is and you've got the answer for them. In fact, I'd actually prefer it if for this video, the only comments you respond to are your own. I think you'll gain a lot of insight from reading other people's comments and their evolving dialogues with themselves as they move towards that place of strength and that better normal. Yeah, just read. Just take it in and let it work for you. Everyone here has the power to help themselves. They don't need someone else to do it for them. Okay, so best of luck with it. Enjoy the journey. Seriously, painful places can have just as much beauty and wisdom in them as the happy, euphoric places can. So don't run away from them. Just explore them and see what they're all about. Okay? I want to thank everyone who joined us this weekend for the 1-year anniversary of our Team Grips training camp and Free Money Friday. It warms my heart to see how many people have become a part of this community. And honestly, guys, every success story, every time someone comes on Twitch and tells me how the videos have changed their life, like, I want to cry. I just want to cry tears of joy every time I hear a success story or just get like an email where someone's like, you know, you really helped me get back on my feet. You really helped me take control, and you know, maybe I got stacking or maybe I won't be able to keep stacking, but now I can actually move towards doing the thing that I always wanted to do with my life. It just makes me so happy. So thank you and congratulations on all the success, team. I'm really proud of you guys, and so thankful to have you guys as part of my existence, part of my reality. I'm so thankful that you guys are in my orbit. I'm really fortunate, really blessed. So I hope you enjoyed this video and have received some empowerment from it that will help you change your game and ultimately change your life and become someone who never goes on tilt. This has been Evan for Grips.com saying thank you for taking the time to watch this to the end. I know it was a long one, and thank you for making a complete investment in your own well-being and personal development. I'll see you somewhere out there on the internets, be it the tube, the Twitcher, or just on the tables. Till next time, happy stacking.